Camera froze.
Can you? I think it's because it's going live.
Okay.
Can you still hear and see me? Yes.
I can hear you, but your camera froze.
Okay, let me check. Is it still frozen?
Yeah.
Don't know if it's on your side or on my side.
You want me to
Yeah, let me
refresh?
Yeah, I can. I will refresh on my side.
Hey, Thomas, can you hear me?
I can hear and see you. Can you hear and see me?
I can hear you. I can't see you, though.
Okay, let me come in again. 1 second.
Hey, August.
Hey, Nathaniel, how are you today?
Doing great, and you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm well. UK based, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah. Like we have the office in London.
Awesome, awesome. Thomas, I can see you.
Yeah, is camera back now? Okay, let's hope it stays that way.
Hey, Nathaniel, if I could ask, how would you like me to refer to and introduce you, Nathaniel or Nathan?
Nathaniel is good.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, just for your information, we are live, guys, so everybody can hear us.
Cool.
Wonderful. Well, let's give it 4 more minutes by my clock and then kick things off here.
Sounds perfect.
And we're also recording, so we'll be able to share this after the fact as well. And anybody who missed it, likely those West Coast US based individuals who are not up at 6 a.m. can link in then. All right, guys. I've got 7 a.m. by my clock over here, which puts it at 2 p.m. UK time, and I think let's kick things off here and go live then. So I want to take a minute here and just say thank you. We have a worldwide audience today. We're streaming across 3 different platforms, recording this live. So if you're listening after the fact, thank you very much for tuning in. We really appreciate it, and got a couple of all-star guests here. I'm really excited to introduce them, pick their brains a little bit, some real industry leaders. Quickly on myself, my name's August. I work on the partnerships and strategy side over at Credix. And from Indigo Fund, we have Nathaniel Cohen, who's the co-founder and CIO there. Then we have Thomas Bonner, who is the founder and CEO of Credix. I think that's enough from me. So I'm gonna kick over a couple of prompts to these guys, pick their brains a little bit, and kind of explore the partnership between the two of them, see what they're doing, and see how we really are, as the title says, delivering capital to emerging markets. So, Nathaniel, why don't I hand the mic to you first? If you could give a quick overview of Indigo, what your role is there, what your day-to-day is, please.
Sure. So my name is Nathaniel Cohen. I am the co-founder and Chief Investment Officer as well for Indigo Fund. So I'm taking care of the general fund strategy and trading processes. So picking up the right protocol, doing due diligence where we are putting our money in. And just to give you a little background about Indigo, so we are a liquid token fund that we launched in early 2022 with a mission to serve as an influential vehicle of empowerment for visionary investors. So we try to give exposure to the world crypto market through the fund. So we divide our strategy into 3 main pillars. The first one is future of money with layer 1, layer 2 blue chip token. Second one is future of internet with the meme, creator economy, NFT, gaming, metaverse. And then we have also the future of finance that we consider being the DeFi.
That's awesome. Thank you. And so are you looking particularly at asset strategies called protocol tokens, or are you also focused on the yield-bearing assets as well?
So actually, like we are doing more and more activities into the NFT lending market. And as of now, like we are trying to concentrate our strategy into yield strategy on stablecoin, just to not take some risk in the market. So like we are expecting a market drop maybe in the next 4 to 6 months. So as of now, like trying to focus on the stablecoin yield strategy mainly.
Amazing. Well, we've had some green on the screens these past couple of days, so fingers crossed there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Thomas, on the Credix front, can you give us a high-level overview of the platform, your role there, and a little bit of background, please?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, August, for hosting, and Nathaniel, like always, good to see you again and being on the panel. It's my pleasure. So I'm the founder and CEO at Credix, and I have a background in traditional finance, starting out my career, and after that, moving into an operator and innovator role in the blockchain space for the last 6 years. Have been working with large capital market infrastructures, big banks all over the world, into designing, implementing, and architecting blockchain-based solutions. Now, just recently, when we started out Credix, we had a vision of building a more open finance platform for credit assets. And so that is what we have done. Credix today is a global platform to provide liquidity against real world assets. And so we do that by building the protocol for origination, tokenization, and securitization of those assets, as well as the marketplace and the ecosystem where we bring asset originators, mostly out of emerging markets, and we connect them to institutional capital, like, for example, investors like Indigo. And I'm pretty sure we will have a lot more time in the next 55 minutes to talk about that.
Awesome. So thank you. A couple of things in there, Thomas, I'd love to double click on, and without getting too nitty gritty, could you give us a quick summary of the securitization process? And then also what an individual deal structure looks like, please.
Yes, definitely. So let me actually start with looking at what are the kind of assets that we with Credix like and that we finance on the platform. Now, for the people out of the crypto world, these are not your traditional tokens or crypto assets, but we actually look at real world assets like, for example, cars or loans or receivables or invoices, and we finance them for consumers or SMEs. Now, of course, if we with Credix would have to go after every consumer in Brazil or in any emerging market or an SME, that would take us a great amount of work and a crazy amount of effort to underwrite everything. And the risk of that would be very high. So what we do is we work with local asset originators and we package their assets. And that is really where the securitization process happens. So instead of financing one specific receivable for one SME, we tokenize a set of receivables onto the blockchain. We create a smart contract that represents a tokenized bond backed by those receivables. And then we're able to create different kind of risk clauses. And depending on the risk clause that you like, you get a different kind of yield throughout the platform. And so with Credix, what we were able to do is using the composability of the blockchain to pool some of those assets into a liquidity pool, but also offer the possibility for investors to invest on a deal by deal basis. And so that could, for example, indeed, August, be investing in car loans on chain, but in a packaged, securitized way.
That's awesome. Perfect. So the investors are able to pick and choose, build their own risk appetite portfolio a little bit, but also invest passively in that liquidity pool. Is that accurate?
That is very accurate.
Okay. And so the question on a lot of minds, you're saying auto loans are these uncollateralized, under-collateralized. What's the collateral structurization here?
Yeah, so I think there has been a lot of confusion around what is an uncollateralized loan, and definitely in looking the crypto native world versus the real world and the more traditional finance. Now, all the loans, the credit facilities on Credix are uncollateralized when you look from a crypto perspective. So what does that mean? Our borrower doesn't have to put up Bitcoin or Ether on the blockchain as a collateral. Now what happens? They put up actually the cash flow generating assets or the hard assets like the car or the real estate. They put that as a collateral off chain. And what Credix was able to do is create a technology and a legal framework to bridge the off-chain collateral with the on-chain efficiency of creating a settlement and financing network.
Amazing. Okay, so we're not talking about like a typical MakerDAO structure with a 125 collateralization ratio on ETH-backed DAI loans. This is hard asset lending of traditional loans. Interesting. Yes. Interesting. Okay, and so presumably, if a loan were to go bad on the platform, I'm not going to receive a portion of a car. What's the liquidation strategy in the event of a default?
Yes. So first of all, how everything is structured on Credix is with a lot of downside protection. So what we will always have is there will be an over collateralization. So let's say we finance $1 million for the borrower. The borrower might have to put $2 million in cash flow generating assets. If the borrower is paying us 10%, the end asset is going to yield at least 15 or 20%. So we create excess spread and excess yields. So that means if one of the underlying loans or one of the underlying assets is going in default, it has no impact on the credit facility on the Credix infrastructure. Now, of course, because of that, we were able to generate very substantial yield, around 13.5% in our senior liquidity pool without any defaults. But like you said, August, we also have designed a process in case of. And so in case of any default, we have local backup servicers, how they call it, and collection agents in these emerging markets that can go after the assets, sell it on behalf of our investors, and make sure the funds securely return to the liquidity pool and the smart contracts.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. I think that's a really thorough overview. If there's anything that I glossed over or you wanna highlight a little bit, please jump right back in. Otherwise, Nathaniel, I'd love to turn over to you, and we're here to obviously discuss in the title, but also explore the Indigo Credix partnership a little bit. Could you give us some background there on what that partnership is and a high-level overview of it, please?
Sure, of course. So actually, I know well Thomas and the Credix team because I was personally an angel investor in their first equity raise that they did in 2021. So since that, I follow closely the development of the product and propose Credix to my team as our first fund capital deployment in DeFi. So when we started in June. So yeah, we partner up on especially on the closed alpha program, and we became one of the first funds to provide liquidity on the Credix liquidity pool.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And then is this presumably more than a capital relationship only? I mean, it sounds like you have a close relationship, kind of helping out along the way, working hand in hand on building out the structure here.
Yeah, sure. So actually, being as we started being an angel investor for the project, it's always in our scope to help Credix to grow, to introduce them to other funds that can provide capital, or to give them some of our feedbacks regarding the use of the platform for borrower and for lender. So of course, there is always this kind of consulting that we can offer with Credix team along the way.
That's awesome. Thank you. And so I'm going to make an assumption here. You laid out kind of future of money, future of internet, and then future of finance buckets. Would you put Credix in the third there, the future of finance?
Yeah, exactly. Because for me, the future of finance is a broader financial ecosystem where everyone can have access in it and not restricted just because of the country they are located in. So for me, the future of finance is really to fluidify the current financial system and to make other people and other institutions to be part in it.
That's amazing. Yeah, you're getting me fired up now, and that actually leads right into the next thing I wanted to ask you about. So we're here talking about unlocking capital in emerging markets. Could you explain to us what exactly do we mean there? What's the need in those markets, and how are we addressing that, please?
Sure. So I really think that what Credix is currently building is solving a major problem in developing countries, which is the cost of borrowing for corporate and institution. So for example, the Brazil lending interest rate is above 30% this year, with a long-term average rate reaching close to 50%. So it makes corporate and institution reviewing their borrowing needs and inevitably impacting their positive growth. So yeah, I think that through the power of decentralized finance, Credix is revising downward the cost of borrowing in developing countries with much more acceptable rates by conducting tough due diligence on local borrowers and connecting them with international lenders such as Indigo. So it unlocks new capital in emerging economy and fostering this financial inclusion.
Okay, and so are we seeing is it a capital scarcity that is driving the rates higher, or is it an underlying credit issue that's driving the rates higher?
So I think for this question, I will let Thomas explain this part.
Yes, I think indeed it's a very good point. So what we have seen in these markets is they always have a few similarities, and we see that across Southeast Asia, Africa, and then Latin America, particularly Brazil, Mexico, and Colombia, where Credix is very active and already providing liquidity for those kind of assets, is often they have a very strong monopoly around 2 or 3 banks locally. These banks often have very strong return on investment, return on equity, some of the highest in the world. And so they are not really incentivized to provide additional credits to SMEs, to corporates, to individuals. And then historically, it has always been very difficult from an infrastructure perspective for global investors to actually access these kind of countries in a cost-efficient way. Now, that is where, in general, I think not only Credix, but blockchain by nature, by default, comes into play. Because blockchain doesn't know borders. Blockchain is cross-border by default. And by leveraging that technology as an infrastructure, we can now move capital, we can move value across borders in a cost-efficient way. Stable coins were then that innovation that allowed us to do that in a more regulatory driven and a more efficient way. And now what Credix is doing indeed is linking that to the local needs and the credit capabilities that need to build in these kind of countries to provide a full end access.
Amazing, fantastic. Yeah, I can see that from both ends of the spectrum. On my background, I spent a lot of time analyzing traditional financial institutions, and those in those markets you're describing did always have the higher ROEs and performance metrics. And also I spent some time living in South American markets and really seeing the need and the monopolization basically of the banks that you were touching on, Nathaniel. Thomas, so you alluded to this a little bit, but it sounds like from your perspective, the solution that Credix is providing is as you put it so nicely, blockchain doesn't know borders, and you're able to provide a more efficient flow of capital to these markets, thus opening the door for more capital and also potentially at a lower rate. Is that around accurate?
Yes, exactly. And so what we always have to adhere to is there are such things as local interest rates, but by thinking globally, we can pressure that down. And then there is a lot of costs involved in back office operations. And that is the first problem we're tackling. In these kind of transactions between a global financial institution or fund and a local asset originator in Brazil, there might be a trustee, a custodian, a paying agent, a calculation agent, often between 5 to 7 intermediaries. And what we call them are rent seekers. All of them are taking a small piece of the pie, adding in total to very high additional costs on top of the interest rates of the loans. Now, of course, what we have done is we have automated that full operation by the smart contracts and by the core of the blockchain technology that we're built on top of. And by that, we can create a very efficient, lower cost way for them to access the financing.
Okay, and then even just looking at it from a traditional finance perspective, Nathaniel, we're interlocking all of these markets, be it a Southeastern Asia market, Colombia, Brazil, Mexico markets. So instead of rates being benchmarked against the bank in the next town over, it's now benchmarked across a larger pool and making a more efficient capital market. Is that accurate from your perspective?
Yeah, exactly. I think that Credix is breaking the code here, and it's just one of the first time that we have money or funds from DeFi technology that we can inject in those markets to give more fluidity into the ecosystem. So yeah, I think we can see it that way as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now this is all powered by blockchain technology and specifically on the Credix platform, USDC. The end user, you said an SME, a small business, or maybe a consumer for an auto loan, is the one ultimately benefiting from this platform. Does that individual then receive USDC, a cryptocurrency, into a wallet and then have to off-ramp it via Coinbase? What's the interaction there with crypto from their perspective?
Yeah. So today, Credix is really built as a wholesale institutional product, really as a debt capital markets infrastructure. So the tokenization and the interaction with the stable coins happens mostly between the investment funds like Indigo that uses their stables to put them to work to generate yield. And then our local asset originators, which are the borrowers who receive the stable coins directly from the smart contract from the DeFi protocol. Now, what they do is through the Credix platform, we have built very easy integrations, software, and partnerships to off-ramp that in the local currency and to hedge it against any local currency movements and volatility. So today, the SME and the end consumer still receives the local fiat to use in the local economy. This is today. We have a vision with Credix where we believe that all kind of assets will come on chain. We have a partner, and shout out to them, Transfero Swiss, who is launching a local stable coin called the BRZ, which we are seeing to get more and more adoption. The Central Bank of Brazil is launching a CBDC that they want to allow to use at point of sale or to pay your invoices with. We with Credix, we believe we will be integrating with all those kind of solutions to provide a more end-to-end on-chain credit experience.
I love it. I love it. So in the simplest real world terms, if you will, I don't care how Amazon got me my new pair of shoes in 2 days. I just care that they did. It could have come by freight. It could have come by rail, whatever it was. It just came to me quickly and efficiently and at a cheaper rate than, you know, Walmart or somebody. Interesting. Nathaniel, perhaps this would be a great thing for you to highlight, but what are some of the impacts that you're seeing or you're understanding in these markets? And Thomas, feel free to add some color here as well, please.
Can you repeat, sorry?
What are some of the impacts on the ground that this capital is having for the individuals in these countries?
Sure. So I think that the institution that the Credix team is selecting are well-rounded. For example, one of the first institutions they lent money to was an institutional that were giving loans to student loans to individual in Brazil, and so we here the Credix solution is just giving more solution for this company to empower to empower the economy, the ecosystem, and the way people can borrow money and use it in their daily life. So I think it's part of mondialization, and it's really a cornerstone in facilitating this mondialization in the economic.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, Nathaniel, and I would like to double down on that. I think credit and debt have really been the veins and the power for a lot of economical growth in developing markets in Europe and the US. And people in clearly banked markets, they see credit as something very easy to get to, right? Like credit cards, buy now, pay later, getting a mortgage, getting a student loan is part of the day-to-day activity. And there are a lot of institutions providing that in these kind of markets. Now, if we really think about markets like, for example, Brazil, there is no such thing. And so having access to a student loan or to a car loan could significantly change the people's local lives and improve the economy. And one of the examples that I would like to give there is a partnership that we have with Tecredi. And Tecredi is providing second-hand car loans to near prime to subprime customers. Now, what we see is that often because they can get a car and they might be living in a small village, now they can get a job in a bigger city because they can get there with a car. Those jobs are often better paid. And so that makes that the family income is going up, and so that the family can eventually go to study. And so it all starts with that small car loan, but the long-term impact on the economy is pretty big. And that is really what we're here for with Credix. And if we see today that we're providing financing in the millions in these markets, this opportunity is not billions, it's trillions of dollars. Like globally, the SME financing gap in emerging countries is 5.2 trillion US dollars. And it's only through a more efficient and global infrastructure that we will be able to solve for that. And so we believe with Credix, together with Indigo, that we are already a small part of the solution on solving that gap.
I totally agree with your vision.
I love that. And that's a great example with the auto loans. First thing, just the flow of capital and the way that can revolutionize and really uplift an entire country is it's so true. I think Ferguson does a great job laying that out in A Cent of Money, which is a great book if folks want to read that. And then from my time living in Colombia, I was watching individuals ride 20, 30 miles out of rural areas on old rickety bicycles just to get some work in the city. So being able to apply this technology to get efficient capital, to afford a car, to get to school, to get to the hospital, whatever it's needed, that's awesome. Thomas, from taking a step back here, going back to the partnership between Indigo and Credix, could you kind of lay out some of the key benefits, strategic and otherwise, on partnering with specifically Indigo, and then just what that general thought process is there?
Exactly. So I think from the beginning, we have realized with Credix that what we're trying to build is a really big and global vision, and we will not be able to do it alone. A lot is driven by the ecosystem. I think, like people like to say, blockchain is a team sport. And so you need a set of core strategic partners to work together with in the beginning to grow your platform and to have a true impact. Now, like Nathaniel already said, Nathaniel and I got to know each other, I think about a year ago. Very quickly, we were able to connect on the vision for crypto and blockchain and having a real term and real world impact. And so after Nathaniel joined as an angel investor, and he had already supported us a lot with introductions and with feedback, when they came with the idea of partnering with Indigo for our closed alpha program, that was almost a no-brainer, because I know a lot of investors and partners are always saying they are a value add. But with Indigo, we have really seen that. We believe that the user experience and the UI of crypto is very much broken as well. They have had a great impact and a great support with providing us feedback on the product experience. And what I really like about Indigo is that they both understand the very technical side. So we're able to discuss with them like, okay, what is happening on the blockchain level, custody level, the experience with using the stable coins, the tokenization level, as well as seeing the bigger picture and the bigger vision, like, okay, where are we going in the next 6 months, in the next 12 months, and the next 18 months? And so that's why we're proud and happy to be able to call them a strategic partner of Credix, most definitely.
That's amazing. And I think having someone like Nathaniel, who is invested across specifically 3 different verticals and involved in so many different companies and organizations, and with your breadth of experience, you can provide a really diverse opinion, whereas the Credix team might be heads down focused on building out this real world asset focused protocol. You can really provide that broad ecosystem perspective. That's really interesting. Now looking more at this partnership from your perspective, Nathaniel, and also Thomas, where can I get the T-shirt that says blockchain is a team sport? I want to trademark that. But Nathaniel, the Credix partnership, why Credix? There are a number of protocols out there. How did this fit the box? Understanding you had a relationship as early as pre-seed, but please go ahead.
Sure. So as I mentioned, like at Indigo, we are very sensitive with the financial inclusion question. And like we genuinely believe that cryptocurrencies and blockchain can be a huge catalyst in accelerating it. So yeah, like among all the protocol that we are seeing, we think that Credix is one of the first crypto company tackling up this problematic. And yeah, having participated in the equity raise, like we are naturally interested in working more with the team.
That's fantastic. And so setting Credix apart would be having that impact on these markets, like you said. Anything else in there that you would highlight?
Sure. So, like, what's really important for like any fund is, of course, performance, but security of the protocol is also a key part of the investment decision. So we have discussed deeply regarding the risk point of view, and like we assessed that the team have clear and precise guideline to accept new borrower on their platform. Like some similar platform are conducting like deep due diligence on borrower financial and then lending out money. Some other platform are requesting borrower with an over collateralization of the loan, but Credix is one of the first DeFi lending platform that is requesting both securities at the moment. So this was really a key point for us.
And so you alluded to something there that from my investing experience is important. You're doing deep due diligence. You're not just YOLOing into an investment strategy.
Yeah, and I think maybe I wanted to add something to that, and I'm very happy to hear that from our counterparties and partners that they say that. But so from the beginning, when we went out with Credix, we looked at the market and we felt what was really lacking was indeed that more bridge of having the risk and underwriting and institutional mindset of traditional finance, but then the creative open finance, open platform, decentralized mindset of DeFi and crypto. And so we really have married that in our platform. And so I always talk about Credix as a platform, and the protocol and the blockchain is a part of that. Because we have a network of specialized underwriters. We have very clear risk processes in-house. We have very clear product development processes and security audits on a smart contract that we are implementing and that we're putting in-house. And all of that together with the ecosystem, that provides the Credix platform. And I think we have seen not only from partners like an Indigo, but also some traditional alternative asset managers like MGG Investment Group, a $5 billion private credit fund that has deployed several millions on the Credix platform because we passed all those risk parameters from a technology and from a credit perspective. And we believe this is a game changer differentiator in the market.
Amazing. Nathaniel, anything to add on that?
I think that was pretty concise.
That's perfect. Then looking back at getting started on the Credix process, on the Credix platform, what was that integration and that onboarding process like from an investing perspective?
So honestly, like it was really a formality. So very straightforward. I don't remember having struggled to open our account, and the team is always responsive. So I can ring Thomas or Shaim or Maxime, and they're always here to answer. So it was pretty easy to do it.
That's awesome. And then on that onboarding process, Thomas, understanding that Credix today does require accredited investors and institutions as debt investors, what does that KYC AML accreditation check look like? What's the process there?
Yeah. So Nathaniel, now you have made my other investors pretty jealous because I don't pick up the phone for just everyone, right? So now I'm gonna hear back from them. But August, very good point. KYC AML. So this has always been a very sensitive topic in the whole DeFi space, and indeed, in the whole idea of building something open and decentralized. The whole KYC AML story becomes very difficult. But at the moment you want to start working with institutional capital, you want to start moving value, stable coins, money cross borders, you have to have a KYC AML policy in place to be able to attract that size of capital. And so from the beginning, we have decided with Credix that we would provide the same institutional grade KYC AML policies as in traditional finance, but very important is we have made that as smooth from a user experience as possible. So just recently, our product team, who did a great job there, have fully automated the onboarding flow by integrating our on-chain tokenization access system with the securitized ID system, which means that as an investor, an accredited investor, high net worth individual, or a hedge fund, you can today come to the Credix platform. You can immediately connect your wallet, go through the KYC and accreditation, and within the next 24 to 48 hours, you would be able to deploy into the Credix platform at scale. And that is really the institutional kind of experience that we want to provide to our users.
That's awesome. So the rails are efficient and the onboarding process is efficient as well. That's
Yes.
huge. That's huge. So the question I get from all my TradFi friends who still wear ties, but could we be doing the same function in fiat currency, Nathaniel?
So yeah, I think definitely like the rates on the lender side are still very interesting, like even in fiat currencies. And I think like it will always be the case with emerging economies. So like yeah, like I think like the initiative in going like to more traditional finance sector is definitely a good idea. Like just because the size of the capital, but the rates are still very good, even for even at 13% for fiat currencies.
Okay, and then Thomas, are we able to facilitate the same kind of seamless cross-border flow that it sounds like the blockchain technology and Credix specifically really provides if we were to start out in US dollars and then have to transfer into Brazilian real? Would that add additional layers of complexity perhaps versus using just standard USDC?
No, so that is also the great work that our product team has been doing. So from the beginning, the system really has been designed as an open finance system. So if tomorrow we want to launch pools denominated in another currency, or we want to support another geography, or we even want to support more complex, different kind of underlying asset classes, we are ready to do that. And that comes back to some of the power of DeFi, some of the power of blockchain. You're able to build those Lego bricks, you're able to build those foundational architecture, and you can grow from there. And so I think what we will see and what we expect over the next few months and years, you will see Credix also expanding into that. You will see us supporting more local currencies in these emerging markets. You will see us supporting different kind of asset classes, like, for example, agriculture, which is really big in emerging markets and where the financing gap is also really big. And there is an interesting risk yield opportunity to be played with investors. And over time, why shouldn't our infrastructure even be used in developed markets to also rethink, reinvent their current debt capital markets systems? The technology, the platform allows for that.
I love it. I love it. What's the Credix tagline? Revolutionizing global credit markets.
If it isn't, it should be.
And Nathaniel, as we're looking at the, let's just take the liquidity pool investment opportunity on Credix's platform. What kind of hurdle rates are investors targeting? And how does the liquidity pool and Credix's offering line up with those rates?
Sure. So at Indigo, like we don't have any hurdle rate in our fund terms, just because like we diversify our investment across all blockchain application, and like we can have some discrepancy into the return and performance. But I consider that the rates proposed by Credix are attractive enough like to surpass an average hurdle rate that a regular fund might have been set up. So like I consider that the rates are very correct on the platform.
Fantastic. Thank you. And let's just look at that partnership one more time, Nathaniel. How do you see Indigo and Credix growing together down the road as both really roll out into their next generation?
Sure. So apart from growing our initial capital deployment on the protocol, which should be coming in few months, after Indigo next raise. So we recently discussed with the Credix team about a potential secondary market liquidity integration to the platform. So allowing investors to unlock and trade their LP token currently staked. So yeah, Indigo will be definitely interested in participating in this new feature as a market maker partner, providing more liquidity for the secondary market stake token and helping Credix to onboard more investors and to scale at even higher level.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Thomas, this has been really, really awesome hearing about Credix. Where should potential investors or just interested individuals go to learn a little bit more? What are some good resources?
Yeah, definitely. So they should go to the Credix website, credix.finance. There they can get access to our docs. In our docs, we explain in much detail how the onboarding process, how the protocol itself, how the risk and the asset origination works. And so that is a really good place for learning and for education. And then if they want to start testing it out, they can do that pretty simply. They go to app.credix.finance or through the website, they click on to invest. They can connect their wallet and from there start the onboarding process. As I said, very seamless, very efficient. And then directly after that, they can start staking some of their USDC in the protocol and start seeing how it is generating yields.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And so you can even, without onboarding, without investing, you can still go out, explore the platform a little bit, get to know the app, read through the documentation. I know Credix is also active on Twitter as well, just for live real-time updates. And if anybody's going to be at Breakpoint Solana, we'll have a couple of the team out there as well to come and shake hands. So we have a couple of minutes here left. I want to do two things, please. Just open it up to Nathaniel or Thomas. What is there anything additional that you want to highlight here that perhaps I've glossed over? You want to really double click on?
Nathaniel, anything from your side?
So I think that was pretty complete. Like we reviewed the partnership and the use case and product in many ways. So I think it was pretty complete.
Exactly. And something that I always like to emphasize at the end of these kind of conversations, and definitely when I'm talking with partners like Indigo, where I know that it's very near and dear to their heart as a whole team, is to use crypto for good, is to use crypto for better, is to use crypto for impact, and to use crypto for long-term value generation. And I think we should never forget that as a team and a partnership of builders, where we are looking into having real world impact on the financial health, the financial wellness of the companies, of the partners, of the consumers that we work with in the end. And having that in the back of our minds whilst creating a financially attractive product at a global scale, that is where the real and the true impact comes from. And so it really excites me to see that even that we are in a bear market and even that the global macro doesn't look too good, people are still building and people are still building for real world and global impact. And I think Indigo and Credix is an example of that. And that gives a lot of good energy. And then I'm very happy that we have moments like these to share that with the broader world as well.
That's incredible. And I mean, I think it's such validation to see the traction across the three platforms worldwide that are really backing up all of those points. And looking at those awesome viewers and future listeners, would love to open it up to a question or two right now. If anybody has them, please drop them in the live stream chats on whatever platform you're on, and we'll pass them on and try and cover it as appropriate. Seen some very excited comments now. Credix bringing the DeFi seed to Brazil. All right, not seeing any comments at the moment. Would love to just wrap it up and say, from my perspective, this really sounds like a win-win-win situation, right? We're delivering this capital to these communities. Investors are getting strong returns, and we're really revolutionizing an industry that has been a little bit slow and inefficient. And I'm personally just so excited about this partnership, what both funds are building. And I want to say thank you very much to both of you, and thank you to all of our viewers. Again, if you're curious about learning more, please visit credix.finance and reach out to the team there. So thank you all again. It's been a real pleasure, and we'll speak soon.
Thanks, guys, for your time. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.